Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships, and in this video we will be taking a look at all the steel battleships and we will answer the question, which steel battleship will be good for you? Which is the battleship that is valuable for your steel, hard-earned steel, and we will be taking a look at all the steel ships. Now, we are only going to focus on battleships because a lot of players do like to play battleships, and well, they have very unique and different play styles, believe it or not. For all the steel battleships that are available right now in the armory, every single steel battleship is interesting, unique, and very good for what it does. And we will be talking about the strengths and weaknesses and how its playstyle is actually different compared to the other steel battleship, for example. Like, for example, in the case of Mecklenburg, you have basically a lot of guns, 16 of them. But now in the case of R.Lauria, which is another steel battleship, it has only 8 guns. So basically half the guns, but having higher caliber. So we will be taking a look at the playstyle, like why this playstyle might be more suited to you, and maybe like this battleship might be suited to you as well. Like, we will talk in particularly these battleships and even the newest battleship, like for example the Willem De Eerste. We will talk about that in this video. So if you do find this video useful, and if you are a newer player and you are, I would say, even an older player who is watching World of Warships and particularly my channel for a long time, please subscribe. It's a simple thing that you can do for me and can help me a lot as a content creator. And let's talk about these steel battleships. Okay, so first of all, we are going to talk about the Mecklenburg, which is the German steel battleship. And I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very interesting and very good. Now, the thing about the Mecklenburg and the playstyle that it has is gonna be long range, HE. I mean, you can basically sling HE on battleships at long ranges because that's what playstyle really gonna be feels like. Because you do have like tons of guns. You have like cruiser caliber guns, heavy cruiser caliber guns on this battleship. 16 of them, but it has battle cruiser dispersion with 2.05 sigma, which means the grouping of the Mecklenburg with 16 guns is gonna be absolutely crazy. And the playstyle of the Mecklenburg is gonna be at long ranges, unlike the other German battleship. Like in Schlieffen, you want to play and brawl, use secondaries. Funny enough, you can also use that playstyle, but I mean, Mecklenburg mostly has the gun's performance that is far superior than using your secondaries, so I would say you play it at long ranges. Unlike Schlieffen or Kurfürst or something other, like, you know, the German ships that have to rely on the secondaries, Mecklenburg does not need to. And its playstyle will be more like a kiting sort of heavy cruiser, even though you are a battleship. Okay, but the good thing about the Mecklenburg is that it does still have really good armor and definitely like superior than cruisers, except that you do have gigantic superstructure that you have to be very careful of. If someone shoots you, you get a lot of fires. That's a problem. But that's a problem for any ship, right? If you get a lot of fires, particularly in a battleship, you will definitely gonna get burned down, and that's why play it at long ranges is the best optimal options. You have HE, you sling HE if the battleship's angling, and then you set tons of fires. Honestly, 27% fire chance with pretty mediocre, you know, HE shells, but it's still gonna set fires and do still a lot of damage because you will be throwing so many shells onto a battleship. And then if you use AP, and I'm telling you, if you use AP onto a broadside battleship, consider getting like 15 to 25k volleys even without a single citadel. Yes, it won't citadel a battleship at long range because the pen is not enough, because it has heavy cruiser levels of guns. But remember, once you shoot onto a broadside cruiser, you're going to dev strike that and get multiple citadel hits because the alpha of a single AP shell is still 9.4k if you get a citadel hit. That is 9.4k, and imagine you have 16 guns. That is really impressive. Your AP DPM for a battleship is really good, and even your HE DPM is really good. Honestly, you have so many guns, and you play it at long range, you're just gonna be very good sort of a heavy cruiser. Like, better than, I would say, even Hindenburg, to be honest, because you just sling so many shells and the reload time is not too bad as well. 26 seconds of base reload time, you can get it down to 23 seconds with the reload mod, and you're having this armor profile that is just so good. So you can tank as well in kiting, and your range is pretty good. You do have the spotter plate as well. So it's not like you are losing out on anything. You have the spotter aircraft, you can also use the fighter if you hate CVs, and on top of that, I mean, if you hate CV even further, you do have defensive fire, unlike any other German battleship in the game. This is the only battleship at tier 10, if I'm not wrong, that has access to defensive fire. Now that is really impressive because, well, with fighter and defensive fire, I can guarantee you that if you pop the fighter on time and pop the defensive fire on time, you will avoid the CV strikes. At least CV can strike you for once, and that's it. He will lose shit ton of planes for doing that. And also the thing about the Mecklenburg that I really find it good, that if you somehow manage to come at close ranges, I mean, you're just going to devastate battleship by hitting at the superstructure. But then you also have torpedoes. Okay, so you do have 6 torpedoes. If you find battleship that just come across your broadside, he cannot citadel you because you do have the, I would say, turtleback armor. Okay, I mean, which you can probably able to see here. I mean, this is the turtleback armor. Your citadel is definitely covered from this plating, as you can see here. A lot of the shells will not gonna be entering through this area. Okay, this is the citadel armor. This is what protecting the citadel. So Mecklenburg citadel is well protected, and you can get to the brawling position, send the torpedoes. They can't dev strike you. Meanwhile, you have 16 guns to dev strike that battleship, at least at close range. So you do have all the tools. Okay, so the playstyle is going to be at long ranges, but even at close ranges, and I mean, you do have the secondaries as well. If you build it for secondaries, you do have 12.5 kilometer secondaries, believe it or not. And Gunther Lutyens is an amazing, and I must say, it's just so good for Mecklenburg because you're going to proc almost all talents. If you get 3 spotting ribbons, you get some heal, which is 3000. If you, for example, going to get secondary hits, for example, you're going to get the secondary reload time. And funny enough, your reload time is so good on 16 guns that you almost feels like a heavy cruiser. And when the 10 minutes of the game will get passed, well, I can assure you that you will going to get this talent in Mecklenburg, unlike any other German battleship. 140 shell hits on Mecklenburg is not a big deal because you threw so many shells with a very short reload time of 23 seconds that you will definitely going to proc the main battery reloader. So the playstyle is, just like I said, long range, punchy onto the broadside cruisers, and then you're also going to do good damage with HE and AP, unlike any other battleship. It's unique for 100% sure, and it's something that I would say reliable. This word is going to be the very important thing. Reliable German battleship. I can say for Kurfürst, I can't say for Schlieffen because they have all the other things going for it like secondaries, but this has every good thing that I can think of, except you don't have like short cooldown on heals. That is something that I would have loved to see in Mecklenburg, 60 seconds of heal, but that does not happen. But even then, it performs really, really well with good anti-defense and everything that it has going for it. So yeah, that is what Mecklenburg really is. Alright, so R.Lauria, this is an Italian battleship that is definitely very different than Mecklenburg. Now, if that playstyle might be suited to you, you just need to basically know that what basically it has the playstyle, right? So what R.Lauria does have that Mecklenburg does not have? And well, I would say its uniqueness in the armor profile and very, very small superstructure. Now, Lauria is the very unique battleship, not only with sap shells, on 457mm caliber. Like, this is a very unique thing, okay? You have the guns, only 8 of them, but then the caliber is 457, which means that you overmatch 30mm cruiser plating, and you do have sap shells, which I would say is the most powerful ammo in the game. And the good thing about the Lauria is that they have topped it, I would say, up with this armor, which you don't find on any other battleship as well. So Lauria, just like Mecklenburg, is also a kiting battleship, but unlike Mecklenburg that has not the best of the concealment, Lauria comes up with very good 12.3 kilometer concealment, 37 knots of base speed, it has 35 knots of base speed, and then you can have 40 knots of base speed if you use brisk. So it's basically a very fast battleship even without speed boost. And then this armor, man, just like I said, this armor plating, if you are in kiting, no one will literally going to pen. There is no battleship, unlike I might be thinking of a Thunderer, that has insane HE pen. There is no other battleship or even cruiser or even destroyer in the game that can actually pen this 120mm thickness of the deck armor. This deck armor is stupidly unique, honestly. And it is what makes Lauria very resistant to take HE pens, okay? And also its concealment is something that makes it very sneakier. Unlike Mecklenburg that, can be spotted for a good long time if there is any destroyer, Lauria can just use its speed, use its concealment, and shoot the sap onto a target, and it's going to be very unexpected for a enemy cruiser to deal with because of this really good concealment. Like, you have heavy cruiser levels of concealment on a very, very fast battleship. That is something that has really going for it on Lauria. And this overmatch, look at this, overmatch AP, overmatch SAP, it's disgusting. AP, if you switch to AP, if you are using SAP on battleships, consider dealing 15 to 20k volleys if you are having a good dispersion. And by the way, talking about the dispersion, it has battlecruiser dispersion, just like the Mecklenburg, and 1.8 Sigma, which is definitely worse than Mecklenburg, but still, it performs really well. It's a sneaky battleship that has very small superstructure, unlike Mecklenburg. Does not have good secondaries at all. It does not have secondaries, but it does have better torpedo protection than Mecklenburg. Mecklenburg does have worse torpedo protection, but Lauria at 39% feels pretty nice. And your Citadel is something that I would say and I would like to talk. Now, Mecklenburg is good for players that, sometimes don't like getting Citadel in a battleship. Mecklenburg is resilient in that regard. But Lauria has a huge Citadel. This whole thing is a Citadel, and this whole plating is also a Citadel, and it's also not thick at all. So something that you should be really wary of, really careful of if you are playing Lauria. But still, it's a very good battleship. It's a very sneaky, fast battleship, repositioning itself really well. HP pool wise, I'm not going to say it's as good as Mecklenburg, but again, its concealment parameters, the gun performance with this insane overmatching cruiser and just, doing crazy damage on battleships, it just makes Lauria very powerful and unique in its own way. Now, you just need to think, should you buy a Mecklenburg or you buy a Lauria? I just explained what these battleships and their playstyles really look like. Alright, so we are going to take a look at another battleship that is going to be now a French Bourgogne. Now, Bourgogne has a very close resemblance of playstyle to the Mecklenburg and even Lauria, but in a very different way. Now, Bourgogne is a speed juker. It has access to the speed boost, unlike Mecklenburg and Lauria, and it has the opportunistic sort of approach with the main battery load booster. So if you get to the broadside, you can have the smashing power 2 times onto a cruiser or battleship broadsiding you with this very good fast reload time on 12 guns, okay? Now these guns are basically kind of reminds me of Mecklenburg, but having worse dispersion, slightly, I would say worse Sigma as well. So battleship levels of dispersion, worse Sigma, but even then, the shell velocity, the guns, because you have so many guns, you're still gonna be doing really good in this French battleship. But unlike Mecklenburg, you cannot reduce the reload time, okay? And in the case of Bourgogne, you can do that, and this is a huge advantage, okay? And this is what makes Bourgogne really good. But again, there is gonna be uncertainty in its dispersion compared to Mecklenburg. The Lauria also have battlecruiser dispersion with 1.8 Sigma, but at least Bourgogne have more shells, okay? And that's the reason why with 1.8 Sigma, it still performs just fine. Okay, the star of the show for the Bourgogne is going to be the speed as well. I mean, what I would really say about the Bourgogne really is that you have the mixture of R.Lauria in terms of speed, and also something that I would say speed juking that you can't do much on Mecklenburg and R.Lauria. You can do that on Bourgogne, just like a speed boost Henry 4 or Brennus. You can sort of do that, and on the other hand, you also going to have the same characteristics on like in the gun performance like Mecklenburg, except you do have the overmatch of 25mm on these 12 guns. The overmatch is not the best. The Mecklenburg does have worse, I would say, gun performance in terms of AP pen. The AP pen of the Bourgogne gets better, but again, you don't get like crazy overmatch that you find on R.Lauria, and again, you have to rely on the amount of shells. So it's basically in the middle of the R.Lauria and Mecklenburg. But notice that unlike R.Lauria that has a citadel, I would say Mecklenburg and Bourgogne are super resilient to get citadel. Now, one thing to note, that Bourgogne can get citadel at around 6 to 7 to 5 kilometers or sometimes even 10 kilometers if some battleship has really good AP. But still, it's very, very resistant. Unlike R.Lauria, that's going to take huge damage. Bourgogne will somewhat defend itself well, but the armor profile is something that you have to be very careful. Again, this is a French style armor all over the place, 32mm, something that you cannot see on Mecklenburg and R.Lauria. Both are very tanky battleships in terms of their armor profiles. Bourgogne does not. But Bourgogne does have the speed, does have really good torpedo protection, not have the best of the HP, really good guns, and opportunistic reload booster, which I would say is a game changer. It's something that makes Bourgogne still unique. It's still something that makes Bourgogne reliable. I mean, if it does not have access to main battery reload booster, it feels like more or less a worse Mecklenburg. But once you use the reload booster, it can actually change the tide of the game by smashing those cruisers, depth striking them, and the speed boost can be something that just makes it better over R.Lauria and Mecklenburg. Okay? Also, the concealment is good. The speed is really good. You can basically have the same levels of speed like R.Lauria. So that's also a really good thing. So it's basically a mixture of Mecklenburg in terms of guns and also in terms of concealment and the speed like R.Lauria. And that's where the Bourgogne comes in. So this playstyle, if you are interested in that, again, a long-range sort of playstyle, but it can also push and somewhat brawl. Although it's not good in that, Mecklenburg and R.Lauria will be doing fine, but the speed is something that can help you do that. Otherwise, it's mostly a long-range AG spammer when angled battleships, and AP when they are broadside like cruisers or battleship. You will be doing great damage. And I would say it's still pretty good. But again, I mean, I just explained you guys. What do you think? Mecklenburg, Bourgogne, and R.Lauria, that is totally up to you. Alright, so Willem De Eerste, I unfortunately don't have that battleship, but honestly, what I have really checked onto the reviews and the way I felt about this battleship, well, it also have very unique place in the steel realm of battleship. Now, Willem De Eerste has a lot of things going for it. Now, the playstyle of Willem De Eerste is going to be similar. And the thing about the Willem De Eerste is that its armor profile is basically kind of feels like Bourgogne. All over the place, 32mm plating, except it has even worse thing than Bourgogne, and that is it has huge citadel. So that is something that it has the combined parameters in the armor scheme of Bourgogne and the R.Lauria's citadel, and also you can kind of have a relation of Bourgogne with its speed boost that it also have. This battleship also have access to speed boost, but on the other hand, the gun performance is just insane. Your AG performance is just better than, I would say, Mecklenburg and Bourgogne. Combined, you basically literally throw flamethrower like shells. Like you basically have conqueror levels of fire chance, insane fire chance, really, really impressive alpha damage. But when it comes to AP, it just blows Bourgogne, Mecklenburg, and somehow R.Lauria out of the water. Believe it or not, it has, I would say, good, or I would say maybe better penetration than even R.Lauria with these only 419 caliber guns. Okay, its AP penetration basically rivals to that of 457 millimeter. The penetration of these guns is actually bonkers. AP pen is really good. The Sigma compared to the Bourgogne is better, 2.1 Sigma. It has Battleship dispersion, but 2.1 Sigma is really good, and the reload time is also really good. You play it at long ranges, and then you just come up with another feature that is the airstrike. You play with these airstrikes. Okay, so the airstrikes is sort of a game changer. I mean, the amount of damage that you can pump with the guns with already really good reload time with the reload mod, then you have these airstrikes. I mean, if you have played the Goudenlieu or the Utrecht in the Tech 3, then the Willem De Eerste, if you master these airstrikes, you are going to do so much damage in such a short time that it's not even funny. Really good bombs, okay? And this is what it's down to. I mean, it's not like Mecklenburg at all, but it's more like, I would say, a Dutch Bourgogne. Very, very high, I would say, similarity with Bourgogne in terms of, I'm not gonna say the gun performance. The gun performance is definitely, I would say, better, a lot better than Bourgogne. But however, the speed boost that it has and the juking, the speed juking that you can also do in Willem De Eerste, I mean, that is something very much relevant like Bourgogne, which also kind of, I would say, power creep the Bourgogne as well, is something that I don't like, that it's sort of a better performing guns compared to Bourgogne, but it is what it is. And then you do have the airstrike that is just extra, and you do have the really good concealment at around 12.1 or 12.3 kilometer, just like R.Lauria. So you basically have all the good things of a battleship or a sneaky battleship, except the armor is not that good. Mecklenburg definitely takes the crown in terms of the, I would say, overall armor profile. And also one more thing, that you take a lot of damage. Your citadel is huge, your superstructure is huge, but your damage performance is just crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Your fire chance, you just set so many fires on battleship. Try to shoot HE, you just set fires, man. And then try to get the bombs with 15 kilometer. It's just disgusting. And this is what Willem De Eerste looks like. Long range, HE spammer. You cannot push in, unlike Mecklenburg. You can also kind of feels like in terms of the armor profile like Bourgogne and R.Lauria. Although R.Lauria does also have like really good armor plating, Willem De Eerste does not have. So long range, very, very high oppressive sort of power in terms of the gun performance, and the playstyle is still going to be very passive. Again, something that I'm currently seeing Wargaming doing that a lot. So I would say a really, really good battleship. Now it's up to you whether you like its playstyle or not. Alright, so the last battleship that I will be taking a look is going to be the Incomparable. Now, Incomparable is very unique. Now, the good thing about the Incomparable really is that even though it's not having the best HP, it's kind of like a very much of a heavy cruiser, okay? Now, the thing about the Incomparable and what makes it very unique is the guns that can overmatch, just like Yamato, and also that it has the best concealment out of all battleships at tier 10 in the entire game. Yes, Incomparable has stupid concealment considering it's such a massive size and still having like 10.7 kilometer concealment, and on top of that these overmatching guns and having really good AP performance at medium range makes it pretty unique. And also one more thing that makes it pretty nice, again one more thing that I would say, that it has a kiting playstyle. Unfortunately, all the battleships that we are seeing are not brawlers. Maybe a Mecklenburg can brawl in some situations, but the R.Lauria, the Mecklenburg, the Bourgogne, the Willem De Eerste, and now Incomparable also wants to play at kiting, save, and that is the meta for all the steel ships. And Wargaming knows that in kiting, the battleships will perform well, and so they design the battleships in this way. And so Incomparable, well, it wants to be at around medium ranges, and what it really wants to do is to utilize its really good speed. It has decent speed, by the way, like its maneuverability is 33 knots, which can go at 35 knots without the speed boost, and with the speed boost you can get around 38 knots, which is very impressive. Again, kinda like Bourgogne, kinda like Willem De Eerste in terms of the speed, and you want to push towards one position, and you used your concealment, and you basically surprise enemy cruiser or battleship like that. And that is something that you cannot do on any other battleship like in Incomparable. Also, it does have access to the hydro, which is something that is the most unique thing for a tier 10 battleship. So at least what's going to happen in pushing, if you push in Incomparable, which is something that you have to be very careful of, we will take a look at why I'm saying this, but you have the hydro, and if you are pushing, you will be very much good against destroyers. Like, destroyers will have a very difficult time getting torpedo hits on you, but I mean, remember also one more thing, that you do have a very, like literally a big profile for a battleship. Like, you are a long battleship for a tier 10, but you do have the super heal that does prevent you from getting fires damage a lot. Super heal does basically mitigate the fire damage in every possible way, but you will not gonna be healing so much penetration damage, and you have less HP, so that is something that you have to keep in mind. You do have torpedoes at close ranges like Mecklenburg. Funny enough, you do have 10-kilometer torpedoes, so if you are in kiting, an enemy battleship is pushing, you can send torpedoes, which is kind of funny, and at close ranges you can also send the torpedoes. So that is something which I kind of like about Incomparable. Sneaky, overmatching 32mm caliber battleship that you don't find on any other. But let's talk about one big problem and a weakness, is that if you are comfortable with having the worst armor on broadside at tier 10, I'm not gonna say the worst, but one of the worst, then Incomparable is definitely there. Like, they given the Incomparable very sneaky sort of armor, but it has very vulnerable citadel. Like, it has the worst citadel out of all the other battleships that I have explained at steel ships. So just remember that, and just play it according to its play style. Make sure that you get to the broadside of cruisers and battleships, and you basically use your sneaky as an advantage. Unfortunately, the CVs definitely mitigate so much of that Incomparable's gimmick, because the CVs will put the fighter and then they can spot you, and you also having really bad detection by air, something that you should be keeping in mind when playing Incomparable. I do have, however, some weird armor plating like 51mm, considering it's a heavy cruiser sort of battleship, but I think that it is unique enough still, and hopefully after the CV rework, maybe we might see Incomparable performing better, and especially after the torpedoes change of the aerial torpedoes and homing torpedoes of submarines, you're not going to be taking huge damage and never going to be like taking a huge citadel torpedo damage. Now you can just heal them significantly, which is something that is just a very big news for Incomparable. Now it's up to you whether you think it is worth it for your steel or not. So I hope you guys get the point. I'm not going to add Shikishima. I mean, honestly, you buy Satsuma and you have like a Shikishima at tier 11. Every gimmick that Shikishima has, Satsuma also has, but better. So I'm not going to add that. And I will probably going to end the video here. And these are your steel ships that you should take a look at. And I have explained some sort of their playstyle, strengths and weaknesses. Now it's totally up to you whether you buy it or not, or whether you take as your first steel battleship or not. So thank you guys for watching, and I will take care, and you should take care. I will also gonna take care and make more videos. That's what I would say. And yeah, peace out.